helped do that.
Right.
So what happened was Frank decided that, well, he'd known a lot of mob guys for, Giancana and a bunch of them guys, which I was with Giancana a couple times. But I didn't even know that they were mobsters in those days. They were just Mr. G and Mr. S, Mr. T from Chicago, New York.
Just nice guys, right?
It was in Vegas. Nobody knew. But you were a gal. You didn't know who these people were.
Right.
You didn't know who they were. But they were rich millionaires, and that's all you knew.
Right.
And they paid handsomely for your time. But anyway, Frank decided that to help Kennedy become elected president, and this is right from the horse's mouth. I don't know anything else but what I know.
Right.
Frank said that he got he got Giancana and all the mob guys to vote for Kennedy. And after what happened was he was in Calneva at the airport, and they got pictures of Giancana meeting up with Frank off the plane, and they put it in the newspaper, and therefore Kennedy could no longer stay he was going to stay with Frank Sinatra in Palm Springs.
Right.
It was known that he was going to do this, and Frank even built an addition onto his home in Palm Springs to put him up there.
Yes.
And that all fell through when the pictures of Frank Sinatra with Giancana, because here they are, here he is. He's supposed to be being friends with future president of the United States. Here he is standing with the mobsters.
Right.
And that just didn't go over very well with Kennedy or his group of people that they were hanging. He was,
Sure.
The publicity and stuff. So what happened was he ended up staying with, was it Bing Crosby or Bob Hope? I don't know. Bing Crosby, I think.
Yeah.
Or Bob Hope. Who was it? Bob Hope? I don't know. Anyway, he ended up staying with one of them. I don't remember which one now off the top of my head. In Palm Springs instead of Frank. And Frank was just brokenhearted about it. He was just really crushed over it. I mean, he was really upset about it.
I'll bet.
He laid in my arms and told me how upset he was about it. And he said, Frank wasn't married at that time either, by the way.
Right.
He married that other little gal, Mia Farrow. Is that her? Was that her name? Mia
Farrow? That was later on. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's when that's later on. But I'm just saying. But Frank wasn't even married before, so I was like his play toy,
Right, and his friend and confidant as well.
His friend, and we were friends, and I think Frank, truthfully, deep down, Frank was a very lonely guy.
Yes.
I mean, like I could say, I can't go to the grocery store, I can't go shopping with you to get a pair of shoes, or I can't, I can't run to the store and get some milk and butter or whatever, because he couldn't.
No, because of his fame, and everybody would recognize him and stop him, and he just couldn't have a normal life.
No, he never. People like that big, can't have a normal life. No.
No, the same thing with
always
Elvis.
Sought after.
Which reminds me, I have a question. Did you ever meet the King?
Martin Luther King?
No, Elvis.
Elvis. The only time I never met him, actually. I saw him getting out of an elevator at the Sahara Hotel while I was going onto the elevator.
Right.
And I stood back and let him and these two other chicks come off the elevator and watched him walk from the elevator out to there was like a cover over the parking area out in front.
Mm-hmm.
Where you drove your cars up.
Right.
There was two cars, two Lincolns, I think they were, Lincolns or Cadillac, I don't know, big fancy cars, with bows on them, and these two chicks got in them with mink stoles, and Elvis Presley bought them for them.
Yeah, well, he was pretty generous, we all heard.
I don't know who those gals were. I know they were showgirls, and I don't know if that was his wife that he ended up marrying or not. But that's the only time I saw him one other time playing the slot machines at the Sahara Hotel with the bodyguards around and roped off area, and he loved to play slot machines 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
and that's all I know of Elvis Presley. Saw him on stage quite a few times. Matter of fact, Frank and I and Dean and Sammy went over and they heckled him one night on stage. They'd
you're kidding.
And stuff like they'd yell at him up on stage and stuff. They did that to Don Rickles. They did that to Vic Damone.
Right.
They heckled, they'd heckle them from the audience.
Now,
and you think you are anyway,
Tell me something. You, of course, you got to know all the boys. So, Sammy Davis, what was he like?
What a wonderful, wonderful man that was. I tell you, he was just absolutely one of the most talented men I ever seen in my life. That guy could dance a jig, honey. He was a dancing fool. He used to. One morning, I'll never forget. He was sitting. Like, you know how you have a bar in your suite.
Mm-hmm.
Frank had the bar in the suite, and I came out to get some coffee, and took Frank a cup, and then came back out and sat down and had some coffee on the coffee table. And Sammy was propped his feet up on the bar and kind of pulled the bar stool back, it had back on it. He was kind of reared back on. And you know who he was talking to?
No.
He was talking to Martin Luther King on the phone.
Is that right?
Yes, he was talking to Martin Luther King, because he was saying, Martin, you know, this and that, and we got to stick together, and this is going to be really a biggest thing that's ever could happen. If we don't all stick together, it's never going to happen, and you got to make sure everybody's on board with this and stuff like that. That's how he was talking.
Jane?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know who Martin Luther King was then. I mean, I was just a kid. I was just young.
No, I understand. You've got a lot of history, obviously, in your book, and I am sure that, you know, a lot of people don't know all the inside things that you do about all these people and the political figures at the time.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you one thing. Now, your career spanned from 18 to what?
Till I was about, from 1960 to 1972.
1972. So
I got out of there, and well, I left Vegas before 72. I left Vegas in 1960. Let's see, I was being shot at with a gun. See, I left there in, what was it, 60?
Who was shooting at you with a gun? That doesn't sound very good, Jane.
Yeah, who was chasing?
Tell me.
What was going on?
It wasn't very good feeling either. Have somebody shoot at you to kill you. Yeah, it's time to leave.
Oh, I guess so.
You know, it's time to take your exit, honey. Exit to the right.
Do not pass go.
No. I'm telling you, it was this guy that I thought I was in love with. You know how young girl, you get all crazy about this guy, and he's like, everything in the world, and da-da-da. Meanwhile, I had a chance at Sinatra, and I blew it because of this jerk. And years later, the guy's trying to kill me.
Oh,
so
wow.
Figure. Women got to watch out. There's some pretty bad people out there.
Now, you also, during our conversations, you talked about Harry James. Now, he was Betty Grable's husband, correct?
Yes, he was Betty Grable's husband.
And how many times?
James, I met Harry in Vegas, and then he gave me his numbers, and when I was in Hollywood, I would call him up, and matter of fact, he took me to a recording studio in Hollywood, and he was recording. He was doing a recording, and he showed me these mouthpieces that go. I guess it's like a reed or something, and they have to put that in this. I don't know, into the horn, and then that's how they get their. I don't know how it is, but anyway, he was showing me all that, and then I was behind there, this big wall of like was glass wall. And all these instruments were there, and they were making a recording.
Right. And
it was just so neat to actually be in a recording studio, you know. I saw him for quite a few years, Harry James. Yeah, he used to tell me I was as pretty as Betty Grable ever thought of being. Matter of fact, he used to tell me, Betty, is she still with us, Betty Grable? Or no?
Don't think so. I think she's been long gone.
Yeah, long gone. Well, Harry used to say that well, I say it in my book, so anyway.
Okay.
He told me she was a nymphomaniac and that she wasn't pleased with one man. I mean, this is just the way he saw it. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he said. And I always thought, well, go Betty.
Now,
raises your skirts, I say. But he said that Betty Grable was very hard to please, as one man to please. So
I don't blame her.
That was his excuse for having me as his bed partner. You know what I'm saying? They always have to have an excuse.
Right. And
one excuse is good as another.
You also had a little thing with Debbie Reynolds' husband, correct?
Debbie Reynolds' car